Ah. I'm live. I sure am. Pretty impressive. 5 people waiting. I've been missing you all. I've been missing doing this actually. It's a good outlet to think about what you're doing in life when you get to play show and tell like this. I really enjoy it. So, all right. Today is what I say. It's the 8th of January, 2020. All right. So we begin a new year, and usually on the day where I'm thinking about the show that we're going to have, something comes to me, but didn't happen today for some reason. I was busy with quite a few things, and nothing really came. But I made a video right. I think it was New Year's Day, and my message was on that day was let's not like change directions this year. Let's not do resolutions to completely change what we're doing. Let's not do that. A better way, I think, this is the way I've lived my life for quite a while. It was advice from somebody when I was in the Air Force, somebody that was older than me and had made it a lot further than I had. Let's just hone what we're doing. Let's just do a course correction, okay? Because I think when we've decided to go down this road, we are setting a course, all right? We want to be small farmers. We want to be homesteaders. We want to be more self-sufficient. We want to be healthier. We want to have more purpose to our lives. We want to live more intentionally, all right? And I think I fit into all those categories. And so for me, I mean, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but for me, it's a question of, all right, I'm famous for starting jobs and getting them to the point where they work and then say, okay, I want to start something else. And then I have a really tough time getting back to what I haven't finished. A really hard time. And I want to, I don't know what that is. I want to quit doing that. I want to start jobs and work them to completion. Now, I've said this before, right? And I've done better on it, but this is the year where I'm really going to make my stand and finish jobs that I begin and finish them as good as I can and really embrace my work as something that I want to do, that I enjoy doing, that I'm proud of, that I think is important. And with all those things said, hey, I want to pass it on. You know, I want to present it to other people in order for them to do it. And the way it goes, the way it seems like it's going, this whole education thing, it seems like that could be the direction that I'm being taken. I don't know. I'll go whichever direction I'm taken, and that'll be fine. So today I actually was working in this room. I'm doing woodwork in here that I started a long time ago, and I'm just getting it finished up. I'll show you my handiwork here. See that doorway, that sliding door? I just put that in, and you know, there was insulation sticking out around it and everything, and and then all that box up on top that closes in these beams needed to be finished up and closed in and insulated and all that stuff. So I got that done today, and now I just need to polyurethane it. My wood stove project is almost complete. You see that shiny shroud there around the exhaust pipe? That connects up to a duct that's behind the stove that goes through the stonework. So it's encased in concrete and mortar and stone. And it goes into this bench right here. You can see that, hopefully. See that bench? And the lids on that bench are concrete blocks that are sealed up. So they look like big square rocks. And the duct goes through that bench, and then it goes 25 feet into the front room of the house. And then there's just a small inline fan that pulls air. Let's see, I can use my pointer here. It pulls air down from there, alongside that pipe, through the duct and into the front room. So if I put a laser thermometer on it, right at the bottom of the duct, I'm pulling off about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And when I go into the other room and I put it on there, I'm getting about a solid between 76 and 82 degrees, depending on how hot I run this. In this room, we don't have to run it too hot because we're in here. And now that this is all sealed up, it's pretty nice in here. It wasn't like that for a lot of years. It's 15 degrees outside and it's 72 in here. And, you know, for a lot of years, it wasn't like that. It was, you'd have to be pretty close to the stove or you have to have it really blazing. And now it's getting kind of done. And also you can see here, this might be a point of interest. You see those racks on top of the wood stove? I knocked down 2 steers here about 6 weeks ago now. And that is the last step. I had a lot of roast that came off the back legs, which were really big. And, you know, I had a lot of hamburger and I had a lot of steaks, a lot of round steaks. So then what do? Then we cubed a lot of it up and put it in cans, you know, jars really, and canned it. So we have a ton of that on the shelf. The idea is to stabilize the food and not have to run a freezer. You know, that's the idea. And making jerky like this is really easy. The last time I did it was kind of the first time that I really did it. Jill's done it and the kids have done it, but this is my first time doing it. And I wanted it to my taste a little bit, so I picked out a recipe that Jill put together, and then she did it, and I put it on there. And on top of the wood stove like that, it was about 14 hours on top of there last time. So I put it on 4 in the afternoon. The next morning it was done. Took it off, put it in Ziploc bags, and I had about 5 Ziploc bags that were full, and there was 11 pounds when I started. So I don't know how many pounds I had after that, but I told you, and it won't be around here long. It's gone. So tomorrow I'm heading up to the Upper Peninsula to spend some time with my buddy Randy. What I probably should tell you about Randy is I think I've brought you up to speed on it, but it's been a while. He's about 6 weeks. Is it 6 weeks since he had his surgery? Or it might be a little longer than that.
About Thanksgiving? Was that when it was?
You know, I should remember, but I don't. Well, 6 or 8 weeks, not very long, since he had open heart surgery. So they cut him from here to here and pulled it open and took that heart out of there and did some tinkering on it, and then they slapped it back in him and put some gauze in there and they sewed him back up. And he's doing better. He's up and around, but he's going to be a Superman because he was in really good shape before they fixed his heart. But now that they fixed it, he's just going to be Superman. So we're going to go up and we're going to butcher a pig up there for his 50th birthday party. And, you know, visit and all that stuff. They got a lot of snow up there. They got like 5 feet up there. So I'm going to help out around up there. It's kind of a nice little vacation. Okay. So another thing that I want to do this year is I want to spend more time with people. All right. I want to visit with people that I haven't seen in a long time. I had somebody just contact me and said, I'd really like to come and visit. And I was very impressed with that. Somebody I haven't seen in a long time, someone I really care for. So that would be that's going to be really good. But just my friends around here expect to get invitations to my house now that it's fixed up, and we break bread here around the table while it's crummy outside. Um, that's one of my New Year's, redirections. I want to redirect on that. We used to do that a lot. We'd have people in a lot, but we haven't in years. Don't know why exactly, but we haven't. Okay, I told you I had some big news. I had some big news, and here it is. Okay, there is going to be a conference in Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati?
Yeah,
It's
I
not
think
Cleveland.
so.
Yeah, it's in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Marriott, and it is titled Rogue Food Conference, and this is going to be the first year of it, and it's being put together by Joel Salatin and company. Some of his friends that he's worked with, a guy by the name of John Moody. I've met him several times. He's been to my house. I guess I kind of know him, and they've asked me to come and speak. So there you go. Joel Salatin is probably the most famous farmer in the world, and he's asking little old me to come and speak at the Rogue Food Conference. I'm very impressed with that. It's a great deal. Me and Jill get to go. They're going to pay for our hotel, and they're going to pay us to drive down and then a little extra. And I'm really psyched to do this. The title of the conference kind of says it all, Rogue Food. It kind of implies that there's a right way to do it and then there's the rogue way to do it. And I disagree, but I'll have my chance to talk about that, right? Rogue Food Conference. Cincinnati is on the 25th of this month, and it's a 2-day conference. These guys put on some beauties. They follow the model, I believe, of the Weston A. Price Foundation, which I've also spoken at their conferences too. And I have a great time when I go. I can't believe they keep having me back, but they do. Well, they haven't had me in a while.
Not Western Price, no.
No, not in a while. But I did 3 of them, so I guess they get tired of me. The last time well, never mind. All right, so that's my big news. I'm gonna kind of announce it a little bit, make a video about it, and add some of the particulars and stuff. But I have a special code for you, for only the people that are hearing me now. It is RFC 20. All right, so when you go online and you put in Rogue Food Conference and you decide which package you want, I mean, you can pick from several different packages. You can go to 1 day, you can go to 2 days, you can go to a day and a half, you can go to a day and stay in the hotel, a day with lunch and stay in the hotel. There's all kinds of different packages. And when you use that code, Rogue Food Conference, RFC 20, you get $20 off. And you have to tell them Mark sent me, all right? $20 off. So, if there's a couple of you, it's worth it. It's pretty good, I think. So I hope to see people there, and they only have me speaking once and for 50 minutes, and I have a great idea of what I'm going to say. It's pretty easy at this point. And what I will do is, when I know where my slot is and a little bit more about how things are going to shape up, it's at the Marriott Hotel in Cincinnati. So, on the bottom floor of those places, they have a lot of conference rooms and stuff all over the place. And what I've seen people do before is, if they're speaking at a conference like this and they're able to go out and tell everybody, hey, I'm speaking at this conference, you can come and listen to what I have to say, but then we can set aside some time, maybe in the evening, where people can go and grab something to drink, and then we'll meet in this side room, or we'll meet in a lobby or something like that. And we can just talk, and it can be kind of just very informal. And, that's when I sign autographs and stuff like that, book signing and all that stuff. No, just kidding. I'll have a fun time, just sort of like this when we can sit around and talk. All right. I'm glad to be back. I feel as though we need to fine tune this. So we keep talking about that, but we are going to fine tune this and make something, make it more utilitarian so we can get more out of this time together. And I think it's going to be something. Well, we're working on it. Okay. So the way we do this is please put your questions in all caps, and Jill will get the questions and pass them to me, and I will do my best to answer them. I'm not seeing any questions coming up. I'm not seeing any writing at all. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see anything on my screen.
It's been quiet for a few minutes. But we've got some questions from before. So
all right, let's go. Let's go.
People have sent us over the week. So, okay.
See, now it's working.
Yeah, because they come up and. Did you see the question?
No.
Oh. Laura wanted to know, what's the new pig?
Oh, is this Laura Greenbean? Yeah. Well, at this point, all right, I got a new boar. All right. Now, our farm was the first farm in the Midwest to get Mangalitsa, and this is a long time ago. So we were picked out of all the people in the Midwest to be the first farm to host the vaunted Mangalitsa pig. And I was contacted by a very famous person. You'd be surprised. I can't use his name even. It's not George Soros. It is not George Soros, and it is not Elon Musk, because people have been guessing, and I'll have to tell you, it's not either of those two guys. But said, I have a boar for you, and it's a very rare animal. And so I am one of 2 people in the United States that has this boar. At this point, I can't tell you what the breed is. I'm not really even allowed to say what part of the world it's from, but it's something really different, and it's supposed to be Mangalitsa plus. Okay. So this boar is here. I showed him briefly. Name is Marty, and he's quite the boar. He's really got some fine lines, and he's also a hairy pig, but he's got some characteristics that are slightly different. Like he has 2 socks on his front feet, and that's a characteristic of this particular breed of pig. As you know, there are 126 breeds of pigs. Now there are 127. Right here at Baker's Green Acres. Yes, indeed. Okay, Laura, trying to stir it up. You got it. And I did see your video. Pretty good. Are you asking me if you have to wait till November to butcher them? If you do, you're going to need a front end loader to pick them up out of their pen. And we'll probably have to shoot them with like a 458 Winchester Magnum PI because they're pretty big. But yeah, you can wait. A big pig is a good pig. All right. It really is.
Yeah,
and don't worry, we'll be able to figure it out. Between me and Mark, we'll be able to come up with a way, and I'm sure we can borrow a loader from somebody out there. And I'm going to be telling you guys about that too. So we're going to do Anyone Can Farm on the road, and this is going to be the first year that we do a hog harvest class on an island out in the middle of Lake Michigan. Yeah, no kidding. And I may be doing another one on Martha's Vineyard. No, not at the Barack Hussein Obama residence. No, it's not with him. And he's not the guy that brought that pig to me either. So don't ask. All right, is there another question?
Yes. And Lone Star asked a question, but Josh Tara is on, and he'd asked a question earlier this week, so I'm going to give you his first.
Okay.
Do you use a suppressor on your rifle when you harvest your animals? He was wondering before if that would make it more peaceful for the farm.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear that question. Jill mentioned that to me. You know, sometimes a question sounds a little weird when I first hear it. That one kind of did. But the more I thought about it, maybe it's not so weird. So Josh is asking about the use of a suppressor on my rifle when I'm gonna harvest one of my pigs. So I use 22 Magnum most of the time. On these big guys that I've been doing lately, I'm using a 30 carbine, and it's a straight walled cartridge about that long, and it's got a little bit more horsepower than the 22 mag. And no, I don't use a suppressor. So what he's asking, he's using the terminology suppressor. And so maybe some of our people don't know what a suppressor is. A suppressor is, it's actually like there's a couple of different, sometimes people just say suppressor, but I think what he means is a sound suppressor, because he mentions later on in the comment that it would keep the farm more serene rather than having a rifle shot going off that's pretty loud. But there's another suppressor that's put on rifles, a lot of times military grade rifles, that would be a flash suppressor. And if you're firing at night and you fire, the flash from that can momentarily blind you in low light. So they've engineered a little piece of pipe that you screw on the end, and it's got some intricate cuts in it. And when you fire it, it dissipates the flash in a direction where it's not quite so bright to the shooter's eye. So I don't think he's talking a flash suppressor. He's talking a sound suppressor, and sometimes people will refer to them as silencers. You know, on Maxwell Smart, he's got this little thing screwed on the end of his gun, and when he shoots, it goes pew like that. Well, that's not really what they sound like, but it does lower the decibels considerably. Military has them about this long, and they're shaped like this, and they are very good, even on bigger rifles. You still hear the bullet travel, and it makes this like crack as it goes out. But the idea is that if you fire at somebody from a distance, they will have no idea where it came from. You'll just hear this muffled crack, and it's hard to know where it came from. So the shooter can stay concealed. Anyway, you didn't ask that. But no, I don't use a suppressor. And when I shoot pigs, usually it doesn't phase them. They're not sensitive to gunshots. When we're doing our harvest, we'll go out there, and in order for them to get their heads down, we'll throw bread out on the ground so they're eating, their heads are down, and let's say that this is the pig's forehead. I want the bullet to hit on a 90-degree angle, right? Because if you get an angle like this, then you might get one of these. It might bounce off, it might glance off. On a 90 like this, you're going to get full transfer of energy into that skull, and that's really what we want. We want a transfer of energy, and it's going to shock the brain, and the animal will just bloop go down. It's not going to, maybe not kill him, or probably not kill him. It would take a while for him to lay there, and but it just incapacitates him and flatlines him, so we can pick him up by his rear legs. We have a cinch that we've made out of a certain kind of rope. You didn't ask me that, and we pick him up, and then the kill is actually done with a knife, and it's done right here. We put the knife straight in, point it towards the tail, and that goes right down this channel into his heart. And that's what actually kills the pig. But no, I don't use a suppressor. I don't even have a suppressor.
So the second cow or pig or whomever, they don't really care about the sound.
I don't think so, because it's one shot, and I don't think they really realize where it's come from. And if you're throwing bread on the ground, that's what they're concerned with. I don't think it upsets the harmonic balance of the farm that much. But maybe I'm not sensitive to it. I would like to know why you asked that question, because maybe you're on to something that I'm not onto. But no, I don't use a suppressor, and I don't even have a suppressor at this time. You got to have a lot of special paperwork to have it. I think it's a class 3 firearms, and you have to apply to the ATF for it, and it's not something that I really need.
Yeah.
So no. Oh, and if there's questions for Jill, please, just make sure that we know that they're for Jill. And questions for Jill would be along the lines of your health. Jill is studying Ayurvedic medicine now, and she's an occupational therapist, and she's just one of those people that knows things.
Lone Star's got a question for you.
Lone Star.
Yeah. When are you too old to farm? We have the land, but not the operating farm yet. And what comes first when creating the farm on bare land? Water, fence, barn?
I don't think you're ever too old for it. I will tell you this, when we started, I would have been 35 years old. I had an injury sustained while I was on active duty. It was not a big deal. I jumped off of an ammunition carrier. I had a heavy pack on, and I slipped about 6 inches, stopped. Next day, I couldn't get out of my bunk. So it created a bulging disc in my back, and Air Force wanted to fuse things and all this stuff, and I never did, and I just lived with it. But I was in terrible pain. I couldn't even stand in line at a store without sweat pouring off of me, and my whole life was chair to chair to chair, to lie down, to bed, to Alka-Seltzer Plus to kill the pain, to terrible. I'm lucky I didn't get hooked on opioids, to be honest with you. It was terrible. At one point I thought, man, my life is really come to an end at age 35. And then we bought the first farm, and we just couldn't stand living in town. I couldn't stand the barking dogs and the weird people and car alarms going off at night and my truck getting broken into and things like that. I couldn't stand it. So we moved to our first farm. It was just a 13-acre farmstead. The land had been sold off to big farms, and then we got some chickens, and we got this, we got that. But I would get home from work, and I was so into it, I realized I really liked doing this, that I was up and moving, going to it. And one day I realized my sciatica was gone. I mean, gone. And I've had a couple of bouts with it since, and it's good for perspective to come back and remember what that was like. But I think if you're slowing down and you're interested in farming and it turns your crank, I say do it. And the first thing that you need is a plan. You got to put together a plan. And that's when, if you could sit down at the table with us, see what we do, figure out what you're interested in, and then welcome a little constructive criticism about, yeah, you think you can do this, but I don't know how old Lone Star is, but I have a friend that lives down the road that's 84 years old, and he still tells me that he can sleep out in the coldest weather and just live off of biting a piece of rawhide once in a while. He still tells me that because he did it in his 20s. And I don't have the nerve to tell him, you're not 20 anymore. But I think you could tailor it towards, where you're at. and how much energy you have to do it. And I think your energy would increase if you're really into it. And it's a great hobby that can turn into a very profitable operation. We had a conversation with my 15, 16-year-old son today, and he's a ski school instructor at the mountain here, and he says he wants to get a different job because he's not making that much money. And I said, hey, wait a minute, you got to look at the intangibles here. You're getting a paycheck, but what else are you getting at age 16? You're getting all this interaction with people. You have to do things a certain way. You're learning attention to detail. You're working for somebody that appreciates you, and your primary job right now is high school. So don't worry about making money. If you need, I'll give you a loan if you need gas money. So you gotta, with small farming, you gotta look at the intangibles too. It's not always gonna be a high paying gig, although, certain things that I do, all of a sudden it's like, wow, that paid really well. But our economy is different than most people. I don't live at a beachfront place in, Hyannisport. I don't. If I did, I would have to have a huge flow of dollars coming past me every month. I'm in a rural community. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So my economy is way different. I need far less than a lot of my peers that have chosen other places to live and other lifestyles. I chose a lifestyle like this. And that's another thing too. I want to simplify my lifestyle as much as I possibly can. My wife's grandfather told me before he died, we were looking at a boat that he had sitting in his driveway, and he says, I don't even want that anymore. I want to get rid of that. He says, the older I get, the less stuff I want because it owns you. Every spring, I got to pull that thing out, take the top off of it, get it running. Things are broken on it, and I'll take it out on the lake 5 times. I don't want to do it anymore. I'll go out with my neighbor on his boat. And so I've thought about that, and stuff can own you. Equipment can own you. Your toys can own you. If I was going to set up a farm now, let's say at age 60, which I will be in a couple of months, I would make the simplest farm I could. I would adhere to the principles that I've learned in the Joel Salatin books about permanent structures and non-permanent structures. I build a lot of non-permanent structures. Yeah, that would be your plan. I mean, that's where consulting comes in, with somebody that's actually walked down this road that can say, okay, you're 80 years old. Looks like you might be able to squeak out about 5 years of good farming here before it's going to be a little tough. Maybe you should think about this. Maybe you should think about this, because there's a learning curve with everything. And then you can contract out a lot of stuff too. You can contract out fencing and building and stuff like that. So maybe we should talk, if you're serious about it, Lone Star. And we do have that capability to do consulting and things like that. So next.
All right. Let me go get that dog. Sean, I'm gonna go with the ones from people that are here first, and then we'll go back to the other ones.
Sounds good.
Sean asked, he's making lardo for the first time. What kind of dishes do you make with it? What do you do with it? So
all right.
That's what I ran out and
grabbed.
grabbed.
Okay. Lardo. Maybe I could have a piece of it.
Yeah, let me grab it back.
All right. Lardo is a product that we make out of the back fat off of our Mangalitsa pigs. And you can make it off of other pigs too, but generally the more common pigs like Durocs and Hampshires and Yorkshires and stuff like that, do not have much of a back fat. They will only have a back fat of about like that. And they're bred for that because, fat's not good for you, right? So you don't want to eat fat, right? But on our pigs, on the Mangalitsa, the back fat, what you've seen pictures, the back fat can be like that on a 3-year-old pig. It literally can be that fat, and it's clear. You see nothing in it. It's just, I don't mean it's clear, but there's no meat in it, and it is snow white. All right, because we don't feed corn to these pigs because we're concerned with the quality of their fat. So I will pull a piece out of this bag that Jill brought up. She wanted to show it off. And this is stuff that has been salted. So you can see that. There's a little bit of coloration there from paprika. That's what that coloration is. But that is pure fat, okay? Now Jill brought me over this and a cutting board. So I'm gonna just drop this down. You can see there's a little coloration on the top there. That is a sprig of, would that be parsley on there?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. So this chunk of fat would be put in shrink wrap, cryovac, whatever, and it would have a nice shiny appearance once it was sealed up. And then this is shelf stable forever. I mean, for a long time. So this pig was processed. Do you remember when this pig was processed?
Hog harvest, beginning of
Okay, so November 1st. And it's been sitting in this salt. So what's November, December,
2 months.
January, 2 months. All right, so you want me to cut it in half?
I didn't know if you wanted to show.
Yeah, I'll cut it in half. And I'll show you a cross section of it. Okay, so Sean's asking about lardo. There's a cross section of that. That's pure fat and it's salted. So the fat doesn't absorb a whole lot of salt. So in here, you wouldn't taste much salt. Out here, you would. All right. This can be sliced very, very thin, almost, a 1/16 of an inch. And on a slice, you just slice it all up, lay it out on a platter, and then you'd put cheese on the platter. You could put sopressata cut up or salami or stuff like that, and make a meat platter with it. And it's pure fat. And people would say, well, that's gross. I don't want to eat fat. Well, once you try it, you'll change your tune. Now, pigs that have been fed corn, you probably wouldn't want to eat the fat, because it would just be like that chunk of fat that's in like B&M pork and beans. Don't eat that, because I have eaten it, and like go to a potluck or something and you'll see pork and beans and a piece of pork fat in there. And I start thinking, oh, maybe it's Mangalitsa, or maybe I don't know. And I've tried it and it's just gross. I mean, you don't want to eat that. They just put it in there for looks so they can call it pork and beans, I guess. But then this can be cubed up in like, maybe 1/4 by 1/4 inch cubes, or 3/8 inch cubes, or 1/2 inch cubes, depending on your taste for it. At first, your taste for it will be kind of like when you first have chocolate and you eat too much of it and you get kind of queasy. But as you get used to it, you can really eat a lot of it. And if this is cubed up and thrown in a pan before you're going to saute something, wow. I mean, it brings the flavor out. Chefs will say all the time that the flavor is in the fat. So we've got nothing but salted fat here, and we can put it in soups. Just use your imagination. Any place where you would put shortening, you can use this. You can use this to grease the pan before you're going to do eggs. The list goes on and on and on, and the flavor is phenomenal. Or you can just eat it like this. I mean, you could just take a big bite out of that, and Around here, people do, honestly. Okay, so there it is. It's cut. And now Jill will probably cryovac this and it will go on the shelf and it'll get used up eventually. We don't do the meat platter thing that much. We should. We just don't live that kind of lifestyle where we're having meat platters and expensive glasses of wine, but we should. Maybe that should be a new resolution for the new year.
Correct our course in it.
Oh, is that what Sean wanted to know about the lardo?
I think so.
I hope that does it. Hope that does it.
If it isn't, ask again.
Yeah.
All right. Lone Star, long shot revival homestead. I'm drawing a blank.
That's
on it.
Joe Brown.
Joe. That's what I thought. He's seeing joint issues with his sows. Any advice? They also seem to be rooting more. I assume a deficiency, but not sure what.
Joint issues. They are probably walking stiff-legged in their rear haunches. That could be worms. So what you're going to want to do is get some from Family Farm and Fleet or Tractor Supply. There's this product called AtGuard, and try that and see if you see any worms come out. But you're gonna have to. Yeah, they recommend that you treat them more than once. And if you see some worms break loose and come out, then you know you got them, and you might want to do it again and move them off that field as quick as you worm them so they don't pick the worms back up. If that doesn't work, this sounds familiar, and it seems to be prevalent in the Mangalitsa. We had a pig here not too long ago named Snowball or Snowflake. Snowball. And she got stiff-legged like that in the rear haunches. And I separated her from everybody. And she wound up farrowing like that. And it didn't turn out well. She didn't take good care of her babies, and I think it's because she couldn't. But she did get over it. But I didn't farrow her again. I needed a sausage pig, so she went. All right, so. But that's the first thing you ought to try, and then if that doesn't work, hit me up again. But I'm sure I'll be thinking about it as I'm sleeping tonight, and I'll have an answer for you in the morning.
All right. Okay. Any update on Hidden Creek Farm? What happened to Tony?
You know what? I was just, I sent a text message to Crystal today about a really nice gift that she sent here to this house. It's right up there. They're very talented people. And she sent this here. And so I sent a thank you on text messaging. This is made out of steel. And it's really nice. It's cut out with a plasma cutter, I bet. That's kind of a sore subject in some ways, but this is the reality of it. When lawyers get involved with things, they want to control it. And I'll just tell you this about lawyers. They are notorious for compromising. So there's a lawyer from their side, a lawyer from the Hidden Creek side, and the lawyers talk, and usually it's to compromise. They get paid, both sides, they get paid good, but usually the people involved wind up in a compromise situation. So I lost, I mean, I wasn't briefed on what was going on, and I figured it was intentional that the lawyers wanted to keep anybody who could send the thing spinning out of control, and that would have been me. So I really don't know. Uh, I don't know anything about Tony. I don't know what came of that. But I figured if they wanted to separate me from it, then that's what I had to do because the lawyers were getting paid, and you know, so I don't have any input for you on that. That's kind of a shame because the way this, in the spirit of rogue food, we are allowing a very small group of people to tell us what we're going to do. And that's incorrect. That is totally incorrect. And so we really need, if that was scenario was to happen again, I would say, I will help you, but I want to maintain an avenue of information to the people. That video that I made got 50,000 people all riled up. 50,000 people riled up is like a hammer. And you have one idiot at a township that says you can't farm because I say so. No, it doesn't hold water against 50,000 angry people. And you have the right to be angry, right? And this is going to be, I'm really glad that I'm getting invited to this rogue food conference because the days of just complaining about these local governments and state governments and federal, those days are coming to an end because people are smartening up. And this was not supposed to happen. This is why our forefathers drafted a constitution so that it kept them on one side of the line and preserved our freedoms on the other side. But if you haven't noticed, you don't see civics on the schedule at the local high school anymore. So that's something that we're going to have to pass on informally. We're going to have to, inform people that they can download the Bill of Rights. And then we're going to have to show them how you use that sword. I can give you one of these. I can put it in your hand. But if you don't know how to use it, it's a little bit cumbersome to learn how to use this. Same thing with this. Same thing with any of these tools on this table. Any of these tools. If I had a sword here, if I instructed you how to use that, you could be blazing with a sword. But it's the same thing with the Constitution. One of the things that happens a lot, right? We'll deal with people, we'll mentor people that are having problems with, let's say, a township or one of the departments, and we'll tell them, look, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, all right? The Fifth Amendment says your life, liberty, and property and process is protected under due process of law. Do you understand that? So when you have some weenie that comes from the Department of Agriculture and says you can't do that without a permit, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the U.S. Constitution or this idiot in a hairnet, right? And that's the problem, is people don't have the confidence to pull the sword of their Constitution and swing that baby once and see what happens. Now, I was forced into that position where I had no choice, right? I was depending on lawyers. They're great negotiators, they have a great sense of keeping you uninformed. And all I could do was study on my own and look back to the oath that I had taken to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And as time went on, people came into our orbit that said, you can find out a lot from your Attorney General's office, from your lawyer's office, from your county sheriff, by asking questions. And you do it in writing, and you wait for a response. And we did that. I actually went online and I asked a bunch of people in my orbit to email the Attorney General's office and ask them, is the U.S. Constitution the supreme law of the land? And we don't want any Hillary Clinton responses. We want a yes or we want a no. Either it is or it isn't. And, when they respond to you, they don't know where that response is going to go. Like they have to be truthful, because you could turn it around and hurt them come election time. And every time the response was, yes, it is the supreme law of the land. That means if the Department of Agriculture comes up with some crazy regulation, like you can't have a pig with a straight tail or a curly tail, and it is repugnant or 180 degrees out from the Constitution of the United States, the Fifth Amendment, which says your life, liberty, and property is protected under due process of law, then you're under no obligation to comply with it. Just blow them off. And once you blow them off, what are they going to do? This isn't Bolivia. They can't haul you out and shoot you. So, and you got to be you got to have the courage to hit the press the test button and see what happens. You got to do that. And that's what American people have to start doing. They have to look at this government that we have and realize it's totally rogue. They'll ask you to do anything if they can. And you have to stand your ground, and you have to know your Constitution, which means the Constitution is a page. I mean, the Bill of Rights is a page. You should print off 10 of them, fold them, put them in the books you're reading, put one on the wall next to the toilet, put one, any place where you could occasionally pull it out and read it, actually read it. And you'll be surprised when you start hearing these things about this oppression by these state government, local government, federal government. You'll say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not doing that. Like this thing that's going on, we're here to talk about farming. Okay. Go ahead.
Colleen wants to know where she can get Mangalitsa's in Canada.
I don't have an answer for you there. I know there are several people in Ontario that have them. There's a page on Facebook. It's just called Mangalitsa. And you go on there and ask, and I bet somebody will give you the high sign on where to go. Or come on down to Baker's Green Acres. Just let us know that you're coming, and we'll have some breeding stuff. You can take them across the border. You just have to have a health check done. Big deal. It's really no big deal. The vet looks at them and says, yep, that's a pig. And he'll put a little clip in their ear. Across you go. No big deal.
We're going to stick with pigs for a minute.
Okay, we're going to need more questions.
This is well, we're doing pretty good. Another question. This is from earlier this week. Chris Elder. We raise Mangalitsa and they're great so far. We're raising them grain-free and it's more work. Next season, we're growing a bigger garden and planting large crops. What do you feed them?
My pigs are getting a combination of bread. We have a junk bread contract or disposal contract with a local company. So I get a lot of bread. It's good stuff though. It's organic bread. I cut my own hay here, so I feed them a lot of hay. They like hay. I buy a lot of straw and I use it for bedding, but they eat a lot of that. During the warmer months, our butchering business is going, so we're butchering a lot of poultry, and so they get heads, feet, and things like that. They do really well on that. We just butchered a cow, 2 cows, and there was some of that we had no use for, so they got it. Even the bones, I cut the bones up into pieces, and then Jill will put them in a pot. We have 2 big pots, and she'd run them for a couple of days. And then the broth that comes off of that is like, it's heavenly. And then the bones, you can actually just crush them, so I would give them to the pigs. And there was a lot off of 2 beef. There's a lot of bones. Now I plant in the summertime, I plant field peas, I plant a lot of turnips in the fall, we plant a lot of pumpkins, daikon radishes or forage radishes. I have videos on that at Baker's Green Acres YouTube that you should go and watch and see how I do it. I actually have an area, a grow area, I call it. It's got 3 separate pens, so I can have something starting and they can be on something all summer long. I got a rotation going. And the amount of food that you can grow for them is phenomenal because let's say you have a turnip and let's say it gets this big, because they do, but they'll split and they'll get worms in and everything. And the stalk on them will be, 3 feet tall. Pigs eat all of that. So one turnip can be 20 pounds worth of stuff, and the field is full of them. And they'll dig them up, eat them. They're cultivating, they're manuring back to the soil. It is a beautiful thing. It's almost like a perpetual motion machine. So that's what I do.
Yep.
There's a lot of information on YouTube though that you can go to, and it's really neat the way you
If
can do it.
you have a playlist raising pastured pigs on our YouTube channel,
Okay,
With
and that would be at,
tons of information on
Okay.
on our YouTube.
yeah, the YouTube is broken down into playlists. So our friend has grouped them up, and so raising pigs is one of them. So you'll probably go on a binge watch.
He's also looking at crossing with coonies. What do you think?
I never did it. Coonies are they're kind of off my radar. I've never actually seen one in person, but I'd say do it, and then you'll have something to share with us after it's done. I would give it a shot. You never know. Might be the greatest thing since canned beer.
All right, one more pig question, and then we'll do Joshua's chicken question. How has your new boar acclimated?
Not too good. He's smaller than all the girls, and he's way smaller than Friendly, and so they kind of chase him around a little bit. But what happened was when he came on the scene, then Friendly all of a sudden was a little bit more motivated, shall we say? Like there was a new buck in town, and the girls were kind of interested in him. So Friendly's been getting her done. So
Put a little more effort into
he's
it.
not getting beaten up. He's too quick. That's one thing about this pig. This breed is known for its speed. It's not a land race either, and it wasn't George Soros.
All right, Joshua wanted to know, how cold can a chicken coop get at night before the chickens expire?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that would be. We live where it gets pretty cold. We get 20 and 30 below, not long stretches, but you're more likely to lose chickens to heat than you are cold. So my laying flock, which, we're not real serious about laying hens. I mean, we don't put a lot of energy into them. I have a big pen and well, I guess I do put some more time into it. I make sure that their ground is soft and turned up so that there's things going on. I put a lot of compost in it and wood chips and other stuff. But the house is not insulated, and there's gaps between the boards like that. And, they come and go out of there, and it's cold. Like this morning it was 15. Doesn't phase them. It doesn't phase them. Even broiler chickens, we've lost way more to heat than we ever did to cold. I don't think I've ever lost any to cold, honestly. I don't.
Not really.
No.
Nope. We might lose toes or combs.
Yeah. We had one very cold winter here years ago, and we lost our cow. We had a cow named Rose. We've had 3 cows named Rose. First one, I named her Rose. The second one, or maybe two,
Two.
just two named Rose. I got one named Rose now, but she came with that name. And she was my favorite, one of my favorite animals on the farm. I really love that cow. And she got, I think, two of her tits froze and they never came back. And then it went into the bag and caused her to have some real problems. And we wound up having to put her down. It was a terrible thing. She was a great cow. Come when you call her. My kid, there's pictures of my kids crawling all over her when they were little. She just loved it, but I lost her to the cold. But I don't think we ever lost a chicken to the cold. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to put a heat lamp in there with your chickens, okay? Don't do it. Chickens don't need heat. If you want to heat their water, put a bird bath heater in their water pan, and you know it uses very little electricity and it will keep the water open. Even better, take water up out to them in the morning. They'll drink. It'll freeze up by noon. Don't worry about it. Water them one time a day. They don't lay a lot in the winter time anyway, and therefore you'll need to go to our video about how to preserve eggs. Jill does an excellent video on that. It's called water glassing. You get a ton of eggs in the spring, and then you don't get any in the winter time. So, you know, you got to take those eggs and there was a picture on the tribe today. Rachel Jamerson had a duck egg that was 11 months old. Did she say where she kept it?
7 months in water in the refrigerator, I think is what she said.
Okay. So if you can keep an egg submerged in water, and that means it nothing's sticking out of the water, nothing will leave it, and so you'll have no air into it, and it's hermetically sealed. So we have buckets down in the basement of this house that have, is it 750 eggs per bucket? Yeah, I think 750 eggs per bucket. And you put lime in the water and it changes the specific gravity of the water so the eggs sink. And so long as they're sunk, if you take the top off and there's any of them floating on top, that would not be a good egg, especially we've got eggs down there that are 2 years old. And we eat them all 2 years old, at least a year, right?
A year.
At least a year. Yeah. So that way you don't have to keep a massive flock of chickens. You can just keep keep 30 of them and store the eggs, and you're all set. You'll have all the eggs you need for the year. I had a great conversation with a guy yesterday about chicken flocks and why you want a chicken that will lay every other day, not every day, because if they lay every day, then they burn out fast and they don't even learn the comings and goings of the farm. You really want them that will get what they call broody, so they want to sit on their eggs, and allow some of them to sit on their eggs so you have new chicks, so you don't have to bring chicks in from the outside. And he was saying, this makes sense too. A lot of things that make sense might not be true, but you can reiterate them and people won't know. So if you have chickens that are born on your farm, then they're gonna acclimate to the farm. And if they get broody, then that will be a chicken that will bring you more chicks that will be even more acclimated to your, they use the word biosphere, your biosphere. And it's like that with everything. I want my calves to come out of my cows. I want my piglets to come from my sows. I don't want to be bringing new guys on all the time. I don't want to do that. I mean, you can do that, but you take a risk when you do that. So when we bring new chicks on in the spring, of course, those are broilers and we're bringing them in, 500 at a whack. That would be pretty tough to have a flock that could produce like that. So in that case, we're not doing it sustainably, but it's how we do it. But for our layers, no, I think you need a smaller flock, and you want them to be reproducing on your property. I think that's a smart way to go. So you'll need a rooster, and of course, what's a farm without a rooster cockadoodling in the morning?
Right. But in the winter, no heat lamps.
No heat lamps.
Just keep their feet dry, give them warm
Yeah.
water once, maybe twice a day, and they will be fine.
Yeah, we only do it once a day, and occasionally,
Unless he gets distracted fighting Germans.
yeah, occasionally it gets skipped like it did today.
Do you feed your dogs eggs?
Yeah, sure.
Dogs get everything.
Dogs get everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Are we hurting for questions now?
I've got.
We got a few
Well,
more
it's-
questions here,
it's-
peeps.
It's 9. I've got that one from Mary asking about goat hooves.
Oh, yeah, we used to have goats. A lot of people will start out with goats. Um, Goats are nice. I mean, I give goats kind of a bad rap because they just do things. But she wanted to know about trimming their hooves, and I've done it. A lady that we knew in Montana showed me how to do it, and I suppose I could do it still. You just do it with a sharp knife, and they're a cloven hoof, so you have like a hoof. I mean, you have kind of a hoof half on either side, and around the rim on the bottom, you just cut that off, and then you look at it and you see how close you're getting to soft stuff. If you go too far, long before you get that, the goat would be pulling their foot away, and you would never get into the real good stuff. I suppose you could if you tried, but when I did it, I didn't have a problem, and it was kind of easy. And once they knew that you weren't going to hurt them, they'd just stand there and let you trim away on it, and I would be trimming away like a quarter of an inch at a time, and it was not really ever a problem. Goats are nice animals.
Good place to start.
It's a good place to start. Yeah, that's true.
Um,
If you need patience, goats will help you with that. Be a patient at a mental institute with them.
Jonathan wants to know if you've heard of Guernsey cows, and do you think there's any way to make a small scale dairy profitable?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I have a Guernsey out here, a real nice one. Her name is Moonlight. And she's got papers and everything.
Figures prominently in a lot of your recent cow videos.
Yeah, I show Moonlight a lot, and she's a very tall Guernsey and real nice temperament. A little on the homely side, but she's almost so homely she's cute, that type of thing. She, at her peak, she was giving us about 4 gallons a day. She's drying off now. She's got a calf on the way, and she's going to calf in May. Now, you asked, is there any way to make a small herd profitable? I did kind of a series on that, and without a doubt, there's profit there to be made. I mean, if you have a cow that's giving you 4 gallons of milk a day, and raw milk, they're finding a lot of good things out about raw milk. Not only is it really good to drink, you can make a ton of things out of it, all your cheeses and butters and all kinds of stuff you can make out of it. What are some of the other stuff? Ghee and
Cheese, butter, buttermilk.
Buttermilk,
What's the fermented one?
cream. Okay, so you can make a lot of things out of it.
Yeah.
And raw milk goes for like $8 to $10, depending where you are. And that's another thing. The milk lobby in a state like this, and Wisconsin's terrible when it comes to that. They they don't want these little guys cutting in on their profits. So they kind of psych people out of the whole raw milk thing. But if I produce raw milk and I want to sell that to my neighbor, unless there's a law that says that I can't do that, piss off. I don't want to hear it. And, you know, I've been selling raw milk I've sold a lot of raw milk, and I do it openly, almost to see if they think I'm dumb enough to listen to their baloney. You know, like, well, you can't do that. Watch me. You know, can I not sell hay? Can I not sell a puppy? You know, but what, milk's different? You got a law that says I can't? You know, they don't. They have regulations, and then they've got regulations at the federal level, but you know, they have no way of enforcing it is the thing. So I'm not going to comply. I'm just go away. And I'm protected from their ugly carcasses come up my driveway by the Fourth Amendment. So Jill doesn't like this, but I get kind of irritated by that. Are there any more questions?
Nathan Pierce wants to know what you've got going on the drying racks on the stove behind you.
Oh, that is beef jerky. And honing the process. Okay. I stumbled across something. Now, I haven't made a whole lot of beef jerky in my day. The last time I did it was, you know, a couple weeks ago or a week ago or so. And the meat was very thawed, so it was pretty floppy. And I put that up on the meat slicer that we have down there. It's a commercial grade meat slicer, and it was a little hard to do it. You know, you cut it, but you couldn't see a defining piece. And you know, I was able to open it up, and yeah, I could put it on the drying rack, and they dried fine, and that was all good. But it did take me quite a while. This time, I had some roast that I'd put in the freezer. I pulled them out the day before, and then they sat down in the shop, and the temp down there was probably 35. So they didn't completely thaw. They were still pretty frosty. Put that on the meat slicer just to try it, and I got a nice crisp cut. It looked, you know, like a puck coming off of these round muscle groups off of the rear shank of this beef. And you know, I don't know, what did they look like? Like really skinny hockey pucks is what they looked like. And then we put the salts and all that stuff to them, mixed it up, let it sit 24 hours, and then they're on here. So the wood stove goes constantly now. I just put this on here a half hour ago or an hour ago. So it's, you know, a little dry. But if I was really hurting for it, I would eat this now. I might even. Yeah, raw meat gets kind of a bad rap, you know, but that's basically raw, and then it's just dried. I read some stories about the origins of jerking beef, and cowboys used to do it. You know, they'd be on a cattle drive, they would have to knock down a beef. They'd all take what they could, get it sliced up, put it in their saddlebags, wrap it up in whatever they had, and then at night they'd put it out just to dry it, get it as dry as they could. Then the next night they'd put it out, and it was an effort to, you know, preserve the meat so that they could survive off of it, because no refrigeration. Maybe I'll show you this in a video when I get done with it, but it was really nice. I really ate a lot of it, and I really enjoyed it. And the kids did too. Going on a long trip tomorrow, so that'll be a good thing to have along, you know. I'm sure it's very good for you. How we doing? Any more questions?
Nathan wanted to know any thoughts on A2 milk.
I'm not your guy to talk to on that. I know a little bit about it. I've heard people throw it around. I know that there's a test you can do on the hair. A2 has to do with the protein that's in the milk. An A2 is a cow milk that can be more easily processed than the A2 A1. But that's all I know. I do know that my cow is an A2 cow, and a lot of Guernseys are. Now I have I have a Guernsey cross, uh, a Jersey, big girl Jersey, a younger Jersey, and I have a couple of Holsteins. I have one Holstein that I'm going to milk. She's going to be a monster, absolute monster, and she's polled, which means she has no horns on her, and she's friendly as can be. She just is a lover. She just loves to be around people. So we're going to keep her for a milk cow. And now she's had nothing but grass, and it's working out pretty good. That is the one, if you remember from the videos, that had a bad back foot. What do they call that foot condition? You know?
No, I don't know.
It's
They
well,
thought
if you
she
look
had
at the
some kind of
hoof,
nerve thing.
it's knuckled under. So they're walking around, and the hoof is out in the back. They're walking on it like this, and it looks really bad. They limp, and it wears all the meat down on here, and so we straightened it out once and taped it, put something behind it and taped it, and then somebody told us, take that off. It will straighten out. It fell off, and I just didn't put it back on, and sure enough, it straightened out. So it's a little swollen, but she walks on it, and if you didn't know that she had that, you wouldn't know. And this is a really good cow that came to us as a calf from a really high quality organic dairy, but they had no use for her like that. They cull out everything that's not perfect. So she's a real beauty. And I have two other ones that I'm thinking about selling for milk cows, or we'll just beef them next year.
Lone Star wondered if you have ever considered selling your biochar.
Oh yeah, we put biochar up for sale for years, and we'd sell a little bit here and there, but I think it's easier for you to put together your own retort rather than, is Lone Star in Texas? Yeah, that would be a long ride. But maybe we could sit down at the kitchen table here, and I could help you put together a plan for your place. You know, I don't have a whole lot on
Or
hand.
we could bring some down there to him.
Yeah, if you have us down for a hog harvest class, that'd be kind of interesting. I don't make as much as I used to because I'm only making it for me. My old model, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be a biochar producer and sell it all over the country. It hasn't really caught on like that. And I'm not into the advertising thing anymore. I want to be able to make what I need in biochar, share some with my friends, and, trade something like that. But I don't want to be spending all my time making biochar. When I run my retort in the summertime, I'll usually do it 2-3 times in a row, and then crush up everything I have, bag it, store it. This time, we did something a little different this time that was kind of interesting. Biochar is really good stuff. If you're doing livestock and you start getting biochar in your livestock, you'll see tremendous results. Pigs will eat big pieces of it. Cows won't eat it. You have to fool cows into eating it, but that's not hard. Chickens will eat it, but it has to be small. So we got this little 110 volt feed grinder. It's Chinese. It looked good in the catalog, but didn't work good. But you could grind biochar with it really, really well. I mean, it just flies through it. And then we put it in like 1 gallon bags, Ziploc bags, and closed it up. And so now when we get our chicken feed, we can mix it in real quick and out it goes. And I don't know, when you think about that, the force multiplier that you're utilizing there is incredible, because it's preserving the health of your chickens out on pasture. They inoculate it as it goes through their system, and then they squirt it out on the field. And the changes in your fields are just phenomenal when you see. And it's easy to see because you're running a chicken tractor in a line, and in between, chicken tractor A and chicken tractor B, there's a swath of grass, like it might be this, and it's not as bright as the stuff that you just went over with your chickens. So it's pronounced. And I've made videos showing it. I really get into biochar. Is that it? It's 9:21, so we went a little bit long. But that's okay. I really enjoyed myself. It's nice to be back. Let's see if we can increase the footprint here. So if you guys would, Jill post these on the YouTube page. If you guys would just download it real quick and then share it. Share it as much as you can. And the best place to share it, you can share it onto Facebook and then put it on Messenger and you share it. And you never know, there might be people that are looking for a channel where they can ask questions and hear some guy rant all the time. Okay.
Speaking of rant,
Yeah.
Lone Star, what's your talking topic at the Rogue Conference in 30 seconds or less?
My topic is, what do you think? What do you think? I don't want to go there, and I don't want to hear anybody complain about these people, this parasite class that our government hires to thwart innovation in farming. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear answers. I want to hear solutions, because if all we're going to do is pass on to everybody how much of a hassle you're going to have from these so-called regulators, nobody's going to farm. We have to be passing on to them how to, it's as simple as this. Let's say that topic, it's going to be Fifth Amendment farming. That's what it's going to be. I want people to, I would like to come up with a symbol with a 5 and a TH and maybe some acorns around it or something like that. But if that symbol is on somebody's logo, it's like, it's off limits. It's off limits. This is Fifth Amendment farming. My process is protected by due process of law. And these agencies, like the department, they're not in a position to press due process of law. That is the position for our sheriff, our local sheriff, or our state police, or our FBI, but not the Department of Agriculture. So they really don't have any authority when you come down to it, but we really need to start pressing it. And, how many wealthy people do we have in this country that could say, you know what? I'm hiring a lawyer and we're going to go looking at this. And we're actually going to approach this as though those people in those agencies are criminals. They are violating their oath of office. And we're going to go after them. We're going to sue them. Look, the ones that came after me, they had no problem putting me out on the street because they're trying to take away my livelihood. They had no problem doing that. And they just say, hey, I'm just doing my job. Just following the law. Let's talk about the law. The law is the Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Second Amendment, First Amendment. That's the law, supreme law of the land, not these regulation that these freaks dream up. And I'm being kind when I say that. I should say parasites. So Fifth Amendment farming is like hands off. Don't even try it. We're not playing on your field. So you have 2 baseball fields. over on this field, you got a group of kids that's saying to the umpire, hey, this kid should get 4 strikes. And the umpire says, look, if you don't like playing by our rules, go play on that field. Well, that's exactly what Fifth Amendment farming is. We're playing on this field. We don't care about your damn rules. And you're certainly not going to enforce them because you don't have a law, right? You don't have a law, all right? The way they do it now is it's contract. They get you into a contract. If you want to do business with this company over here, they got a contract saying they're only going to do farmers who also have a contract. So, yeah, that's going to be my. I'll have a chance to tune it up, though. Believe me, I was surprised they really want me there because I'm not always sure that they want solutions, to things like
Lone
this.
Star Super Chad, $20.
Thanks, Lone Star. Appreciate that. Get me in trouble though. All right,
Yes,
if that's
he
it,
likes to
let's call it a night. And
Did you see Haven's comment?
no,
Politics. Poly equals many. Ticks. Blood-sucking insects.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They really are. There's like, all right, Jill wants me to quit, but there is the production class of people, the doers, and I think that's who's here, except for maybe the trolls. And then there is the parasite class. And what do they really glom onto? Trying to tell you what you ain't doing is right because I had gone to some sort of school and I get a paycheck out of the money we steal from you. All right, I got to go. Night.